The plunger goes down. The white fluid enters the IV line. It looks like milk, but Dr. Marcus Hale knows better. It is chemical oblivion. He watches the liquid rush toward the vein, a synthetic tide designed to wash away a human being. 10. The patient is a 40-year-old father of 2. He is looking at the ceiling tiles, terrified. 9. Hale watches the eyelids. They are heavy now. The pupils begin to dilate, fighting the fog. 8. The breathing shifts. It becomes mechanical. The chest rises, falls, rises, falls. The machine takes over the rhythm of life. 7. Gone. The eyes roll back. The monitor lets out a rhythmic, high-pitched beep. The body is on the table. The heart is pumping blood. The neurons are sparking with electricity. The biology is perfect. But the person, the father, the thing that feels fear and love and the cold steel of the table, has vanished. Dr. Hale stands over the body, a master of this vanishing act. He has done this 1,000 times. But today, the chill hits him harder than the air conditioning. It is a terror that no medical textbook mentions. Where did he go? He didn't die. He didn't fall asleep. Sleep has dreams. Sleep has time. This is deletion. For 30 years, Hale stood in this sterile cold, asking the forbidden question. If I wipe out consciousness with a chemical, where does the signal go? Does it dissolve, or does it just disconnect? He looked for the answer in the folds of the gray matter. He looked for it in the microscopic tubes inside the neurons. But he was looking in the wrong place. The answer wasn't in the hospital. It wasn't even on Earth. The answer was waiting inside a black rock, floating in the freezing void, 200 million miles away. Dr. Marcus Hale is an anesthesiologist. By trade, he is a physician. By obsession, he is a hunter. But he isn't hunting viruses or tumors. He is hunting the ghost in the machine. Science calls it the hard problem of consciousness. It is the most embarrassing gap in our understanding of the universe. We know how the heart pumps. We know how the lungs exchange oxygen. We can map every single wire in the human brain. But no one, absolutely no one, can explain how 3 pounds of wet gray meat can produce the feeling of tasting a strawberry, or the sting of an insult, or the color red. How does matter become mind? The standard answer is emergence. If you stack enough neurons together, suddenly magic happens, and you become self-aware. Hale didn't buy it. He saw people turned off like light switches every day. He knew the complexity of the brain didn't change when the anesthesia hit. The neurons were still there, the wiring was intact, but the lights were out. So Hale proposed something dangerous, something that would make him the laughingstock of the scientific world. He suggested that the brain is not a computer made of meat. He suggested that the brain is a quantum receiver. He believed that inside your cells, deep within the cytoskeleton, there are tiny structures called microtubules, quantum tubes. And these tubes aren't processing information. They are tuning into it, like a radio picking up a song from the ether. This implies something terrifying. It implies that consciousness isn't created by the brain. It is fundamental to the universe. It was here before us. Question: when you sleep without dreaming, do you cease to exist? Or are you just tuned to a different channel? Answer: exist, or tuned in the comments below. Because if Hale is right, we are not biological accidents. We are travelers. And the vehicle we ride in is about to be explained by a sample cup from NASA. Subscribe to find the signal. Let's go back to 1994. The year is 1994. The internet is in its infancy. The human genome is still a dark continent. And Dr. Marcus Hale is sitting in a room holding a book that feels radioactive. It is written by a physicist, a knight of the realm, a man who spent his days looking at black holes and the fabric of space-time. The physicist had a problem. He had proven, through the cold logic of mathematics, that the human mind could not be a computer. He proved that an algorithm can never do what we do. A computer can calculate, but it cannot understand. It can process data, but it cannot feel the data. The physicist knew the brain needed a mechanism that transcended classical physics. He needed something quantum. He needed a structure inside the biological wetware that could isolate a quantum state, a delicate subatomic superposition, and hold it just long enough for the universe to make a choice. But the physicist had a blind spot. He was a man of the stars, not the cell. He didn't know where to look. He thought maybe neurons. But neurons were too big, too messy. Hale reads the book, and his heart hammers against his ribs. He knows exactly where the physicist should be looking. He isn't looking at the neurons. He needs to look inside them. Hale writes a letter. It is a message in a bottle thrown from the sterile world of the operating room into the ivory tower of theoretical physics. He says simply, "I have found your structure." They meet. The anesthesiologist and the physicist. It is the most unlikely alliance in the history of science. One man deals in blood and gas, the other deals in gravity and singularities. Hale shows him the pictures. He lays out the schematics of the cytoskeleton. He points to the microtubules. To the naked eye, they are just scaffolding. They are the rebar that holds the cell together. But under the electron microscope, they are cathedrals. They are cylindrical polymers, hollow tubes made of a protein called tubulin. They are arranged in perfect, beautiful lattices, Fibonacci spirals winding down a microscopic tunnel. Hale tells the physicist, "This is it. This is your quantum computer." He explains that when he puts a patient under, the anesthesia doesn't turn off the neuron membrane. It doesn't unplug the big wires. The gas molecules bind specifically, chemically, to these tubes. When the tubes are blocked, consciousness vanishes. When the tubes are clear, consciousness returns. The physicist looks at the structure. He sees the geometry. He sees the isolation. He sees the mathematics of the universe encoded in the biology of the brain. They form a theory, they call it OR, orchestrated objective reduction. It is a terrifyingly beautiful idea. It suggests that inside these tubes, quantum bits, qubits, are existing in a state of superposition. They are yes and no here and there, past and future, all at once. And then, snap. The wave function collapses. The universe chooses a reality. And that collapse, that moment of choice, that is a moment of consciousness, a bing, a spark of experience. Hale believes that millions of these bings happen every second, orchestrated into a symphony that you call self. He feels the rush of the discovery. It is the feeling of peeling back the wallpaper of reality and seeing the gears turning underneath. He is ecstatic. He believes they have solved the riddle of the ages. He is wrong. He hasn't solved the riddle. He has just walked into a firing squad. They take their theory to the conferences. They stand before the high priests of neuroscience and the cardinals of physics. Hale stands at the podium, the lights blinding him, sweating in his suit. He presents the data. He shows the geometry. He waits for the applause. He waits for the shock. Instead, he hears laughter. It starts as a murmur in the back of the lecture hall. Then, the questions come. They are not questions. They are knives. The first argument is brutal. It is simple. It is the weapon that will bludgeon Hale for the next 30 years. Warm, wet, and noisy. A distinguished scientist stands up. He looks at Hale with pity. He explains that quantum states are fragile. They are like snowflakes. They require absolute stillness. They require the freezing vacuum of deep space. They require absolute zero. The brain, the scientist reminds him, is a swamp. It is 37 degrees Celsius. It is a hot, chaotic soup of ions and water and thermal energy. Trying to keep a quantum state alive in the human brain would be like trying to keep a snowball frozen in the middle of a blast furnace. It is physically impossible. The environment causes decoherence. The quantum signal would shatter in a femtosecond. "It is a nice fairy tale, Dr. Hale," the critic says. "But it is not science. It is quantum mysticism." The room erupts. The ridicule is not just professional, it is personal. They call him a crank. They call the theory quantum flapdoodle. Hale watches his reputation disintegrate. He is no longer the respected doctor. He is the guy who thinks the soul is magic dust. He tries to fight back. He argues that nature finds a way. He argues that biology has solved problems physics said were impossible before, like photosynthesis. He argues that the microtubules have a shield, a way to protect the quantum state from the heat. But they stop listening. The journals reject the papers. The conference invitations stop coming. The physicist, shielded by his Nobel-level reputation, survives the blow. But Hale is exposed. He goes back to the operating room. He stands over the patients. He pushes the plunger. He watches the eyes roll back. The beep of the monitor mocks him. Beep, beep, beep. Warm, wet, noisy. He looks at the blue veins under the skin. He knows what he saw. He knows that the anesthesia is hunting something specific. He knows that the standard theory, that the brain is just a calculator, is a lie. A calculator doesn't feel pain. A calculator doesn't fear death, but he has no proof. The math says he is wrong. The physics says he is dreaming. He is a man who found the radio signal of the soul, and the world told him he was just hearing static. He needs a miracle. He needs evidence that this structure, this delicate quantum geometry, isn't just a fluke of human biology. He needs to know that the universe favors this shape, that the universe wants this connection. He spends nights staring at the ceiling, wondering if he is crazy. Maybe they are right. Maybe we are just meat. Maybe the soul is just a trick of the light. He doesn't know that the proof is already out there. He doesn't know that while he is being laughed off the stage in Arizona, a rock is tumbling through the dark void of the solar system. It is an asteroid named Bennu. It is ancient. It is older than the Earth. It is a time capsule from the birth of the solar system. And inside that rock, frozen in the cold that the critics said was necessary, something is waiting. The critics said nature couldn't build quantum structures. They said it was too complex. They said it required a laboratory. They were wrong. The universe has been building them for 4.5 billion years, and it was about to deliver the receipt. September 24th, 2023. 30 years have passed. The critics who laughed at Marcus Hale are old men now. Some are retired, some are dead. Hale is still working. He is still putting people to sleep. He is still waking them up. But the fire in his eyes has dimmed. He has spent 3 decades in the wilderness of scientific opinion, holding on to a theory that everyone says is impossible. But on this morning, the answer is falling out of the sky. A capsule, shaped like a gumdrop, screams through the Earth's atmosphere at 27,000 miles per hour. It is a fireball streaking over Utah. It carries a cargo that cost $1 billion and 7 years of waiting. It is the heart of the OSIRIS-REx mission. It has traveled to the asteroid Bennu, a mountain of rubble floating in the dark, and it has brought a piece of it home. The capsule lands. The parachutes deploy. It settles in the dust of the desert. Helicopters swarm. Men in biohazard suits approach it like it is an alien deity. They wrap it. They seal it. They fly it to a clean room in Houston that is cleaner than any operating room Marcus Hale has ever stood in. The world watches the unboxing on a live stream. They want to know the secrets of the solar system. They want to know about water. They want to know about potential mining rights. But they find something else. The scientists pry open the TAGSAM head, the touch-and-go sample acquisition mechanism. It is jammed shut with rocks. There is so much material it is spilling out. They look at the black dust. It is ancient carbon. It is the soot from the dawn of time. They put the dust under the lens. They bombard it with X-rays. They analyze the chemical bonds, and amidst the chaos of the asteroid rubble, they see them. Tiny, perfect organic spheres. The NASA team calls them blueberries. They are not fruit. They are complex organic polymers. They are hollow. They are organized. They are stable. Hale is sitting in his study when the report crosses his desk. He looks at the images from the electron microscope. He stops breathing. He isn't looking at a rock. He is looking at a mirror. The structure of these blueberries, the geometry of these polymers found in the freezing vacuum of space, matches the geometry of the structures inside the human brain. They are the same shape as the protein shells he identified in 1994. He zooms in, the lattice structure, the symmetry. For 30 years, the critics yelled, warm, wet, and noisy. They screamed that delicate quantum structures could only exist in a lab at absolute zero. They said biology was too messy to build a quantum computer. But here, holding a cup of coffee that has gone cold, Hale realizes the joke is on them. The universe didn't need a warm, wet brain to invent these structures. The universe built them in the cold, dead void of space 4.5 billion years ago. The asteroid Bennu wasn't just a rock. It was a factory. It was churning out the hardware. Hale realizes the implication instantly. It hits him like a defibrillator. If these structures, these quantum antennas, these soul receivers can form spontaneously on an asteroid, then they are not unique to biology. They are not a lucky accident of human evolution. They are a fundamental feature of matter. The universe is trying to wake up. He thinks back to the operating room, to the plunger, to the vanishing act. He realized he had it backwards. He thought the brain evolved consciousness. He thought the meat created the mind. But the asteroid proves that the receiver existed before the broadcast. The blueberries are the prototype. They are the seeds. The universe was manufacturing the parts for consciousness before the Earth had even cooled, before the first cell divided, before the first fish crawled onto land. The hardware was waiting in the dust. Hale picks up the phone. He calls the physicist. The man is frail now, in his 90s. "Did you see it?" Hale asks. His voice trembles. "I saw it," the physicist replies. "They said it was impossible," Hale whispers. "They said nature couldn't maintain the structure. They were looking at the software," the physicist says. "We were looking at the geometry. The vindication is silent. There is no parade. There is no press conference where the critics apologize. That is not how science works. Science advances one funeral at a time, but for Hale, the noise of the critics fades away. He looks at the image of the asteroid dust again. He sees the blueberries. He sees the tryptophan. He sees the building blocks of the soul, frozen in stone, drifting through the dark for eons, waiting for a planet warm enough and wet enough to plug them in. He understands now why the anesthesia works. He understands why the hard problem is so hard. We aren't generating the signal. We never were. We are just the first radios complex enough to play the music. And the music has been playing since the Big Bang. So what does it mean? What does it mean if the blueprint for your soul was floating in an asteroid belt before the Earth had an atmosphere? It means that the story we have been telling ourselves about life is reading the book backward. For centuries, science has taught us the bottom-up theory. We are told that the universe began as dead, dumb matter. Rocks, gas, dust. Then, by sheer accident, the dust became soup. The soup became cells. The cells became fish, then lizards, then apes. And finally, the apes grew a brain complex enough to wake up and ask, "Who am I?" In this version of the story, consciousness is a fluke. It is a lucky parlor trick performed by a wet computer. It means you are an accident. And when the computer breaks, the accident is over. But the asteroid says no. The asteroid says that the universe was building the hardware for consciousness first. Dr. Hale sits in the dim light of the recovery room. The patient, the father of two, is stirring. The anesthesia is wearing off. The chemical blockade is lifting. Hale watches the monitor. The rhythm changes. The chaos returns. The microtubules in the patient's neurons are shedding the drug. They are vibrating again. They are reaching out into the quantum field, seeking the signal. And then, the eyes open. The father looks at Hale. There is confusion. There is fear. But there is presence. He is back. Hale looks at him, and for the first time in 30 years, he doesn't feel the chill. He doesn't feel the guilt of the executioner. He realizes that he didn't destroy the signal. He just turned down the volume. The discovery in the asteroid dust implies a new, terrifying, and beautiful truth. We call it the top-down universe. It suggests that consciousness is not a byproduct of matter. It is a fundamental property of space-time, just like gravity, just like electromagnetism. It is out there, everywhere, a field of awareness that permeates the void. The universe wasn't waiting for us to invent the radio so it could play music. The music was always playing. The universe was just waiting for the geology to cool down enough to build a radio that could tune in. Those blueberries in the asteroid? They are the prototype radios. They are nature's way of trying to catch the broadcast. This changes everything Dr. Hale thought he knew about death. If the brain is just a receiver, then breaking the radio doesn't kill the signal. When you smash your television, the broadcast doesn't cease to exist. The picture goes away. The sound stops. But the wave continues. We are not biological accidents struggling to be conscious in a dead universe. We are the universe's way of focusing. We are the inevitable result of a cosmos that wants to be known. Hale walks out of the hospital. It is night. The air is cold. He looks up at the sky. He sees the stars. He sees the dark gaps between them. Before, the void terrified him. He saw it as a cold, empty expanse of nothingness, a graveyard where entropy eventually wins. But now, he sees it differently. He thinks about the dust. He thinks about the polymers. He thinks about the geometry of the soul, etched into the bedrock of creation. He realizes the void isn't empty. It is full. It is humming with potential. It is waiting for the next rock to cool, for the next water to pool, for the next set of tubes to form a lattice. We are not alone. Not because there are aliens in flying saucers, but because the mechanism of being is woven into the very fabric of reality. We are quantum inevitabilities. Dr. Hale takes a breath. He feels the cold air fill his lungs. He feels the sting of the wind. He feels the bing of existence. He smiles. The critics were right about one thing. The brain is warm, wet, and noisy. It is a terrible place to keep a quantum secret. But that's the beauty of it. It doesn't have to keep the secret. It just has to listen to it. The signal is strong. The receiver is open. The question is no longer, how does matter create a soul? The question is, what happens when the signal gets clearer? We are just the early models. We are the static-filled, fuzzy picture versions of what the universe is trying to build. And if a rock in space can hold the blueprint, imagine what comes next. Thank you for watching. If this story made you look at the stars differently tonight, if it made you question the nature of the you behind your eyes, then we have done our job. The universe is a strange place. The line between the science of the lab and the magic of the soul is getting thinner every day. We are tracking that line. We are following the evidence, no matter how terrifying or wonderful it becomes. But we need you on this journey. The algorithm is a lot like the brain. It needs a signal to know you're there. Click the like button to strengthen the connection. Subscribe to keep the channel open. And turn on notifications so you don't miss the next transmission from the void. I'm the narrator. And until next time, keep tuning in.